Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 1010, January the 10th, 2020. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, so we have some things to talk about today, so let's go ahead and get started. But before I do, I just want to say welcome to the new subscribers. I've had quite a few new subs come in the last couple of weeks, so welcome to my TowerGate video channel. Obviously the thing that we focus on here on this channel is the coup, or what some people call Spygate or Russiagate or Obamagate or whatever you want to call it, the plot to carry out a coup against the president. That's what I'm talking about. And of course some days are kind of slow news days and things concerning that, and so I cover other topics as well. But the first priority always in my videos is to get the most recent updated information that we have on the Spygate investigation, which is now obviously with John Durham, and so that's what I focus on mostly. And when I run out of that type of news, we talk about some other things. If you have not been to my blog page, the TowerGate Timeline blog page, be sure and give a look at that if you're a new subscriber. It is the entire coup, basically day by day wrap of the entire Spygate coup, going all the way back to the beginning. And of course I update that pretty much every day, so be sure and take a look at that if you want to just read through, and that'll get you up to date on 1,000 TowerGate videos. Those 1,000 TowerGate videos, if you're just new to the channel, you can go back and just look at my TowerGate timeline, the timeline of events of everything that's regarding Spygate. It's all there, so be sure and take a look at that, and thanks so much for tuning in. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk first about the most recent I guess finding regarding the Ukrainian passenger jet that was essentially blown out of the sky in Iran. We now have the U.S. Government, we have the Canadian government, other governments officials coming out making speeches today. Trudeau gave a speech today because there were 62 or 63 Canadians on that flight of roughly 173 people, I think it is, or with the crew 180, I guess. So anyway, it looks like now it was the Iranians who shot down that Ukrainian airliner. It appears to have been an accident. The missile was a Russian-made missile. The United States has satellites which can go back and look at where missile launches may have occurred, and they can see the missile launches. There were apparently 2 missile launches on that plane, and also there's been some evidence around the scene of the crash that actually proved that there was actually some sort of a guidance system that was found very close to the plane wreckage by people on the ground there. So it seems to be almost conclusive now at this point that this was an accident. You can assume that when the Iranians decided to launch those missiles into those air bases, they assumed that there may be incoming as a result of launching those. They assumed that there may be missiles coming back at them, and so they probably fired up their anti-aircraft systems, and it looks as though one of those anti-aircraft systems launched a couple of rockets, and that appears to be what took down the Ukrainian flight. This is going to cost the Iranians big time, not just money-wise, because they're going to be sued to the max by all these families. They'll probably be sued by the airline. The Ukrainian government's not going to be very happy. So it's a huge loss again for the Iranians. They're having a very, very bad week. Shooting down a passenger jet is generally not going to play very well. And keep in mind, Ukraine had a reasonably good relationship with the Iranians. The Iranians don't have a lot of friends right now, and this is certainly not going to help their cause. And I don't think anyone's suggesting they did this on purpose. I don't think they would do that, not to the Ukrainians, because again, they had a fairly good relationship with Ukraine. But now you can bet that those relations are going to be chilled, and it appears the Iranians do not want to cooperate, turn over the black box, and all this stuff. I think eventually they'll be forced to. There'll be just way too much pressure on them, and they're ultimately going to have to come out and admit that they did this, and they're going to have to apologize for it. And I think everyone knows this is very likely an accident, but still, it's hard to explain an accident like this. I mean, you got those types of weapons. You got to be very careful before you launch those types of weapons. You have to make sure that the airspace is clear. You can't just be launching these types of systems when there could be civilian aircraft in the area. So I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but ultimately we're going to probably get to the bottom of that. And again, it's been a very, very bad week for the Iranians, and it's about to get worse, and it's going to be very costly. Well, it looks like the House has passed this measure seeking to limit President Trump's military actions against Iran. The vote was 224 to 194, largely along party lines. You did have 3 Republicans who voted for the measure, and you had 8 Democrats vote against. 3 Republicans for, 8 Democrats against, with a grand total of 224, 194. And what does this mean? Well, here's what this means. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. That's what it means. The president has complete authority under the Constitution to deal with foreign policy issues. And as far as responding to an attack or an imminent attack on American troops, American assets, or anything like that, he doesn't need to go to the Congress. Simple as that. So, this is largely a resolution, and a resolution really is what they call non-binding. In other words, meaning it really has no teeth in it. So it's just another political gesture by the radical left-wing lunatics to try to do some public relations damage to Trump. They know that this will feed the media on the left. Will come out and say, yes, well, Pelosi is limited Trump's ability to carry out actions against Iran. They will, of course, be lying because, of course, this is really nothing more than a toothless measure. It really has there's nothing enforceable about it. So it's largely all to do about nothing. It means nothing. Trump will go on and conduct his foreign policy as he sees fit, and if he wants to launch a ICBM into the Ayatollah's ear hole, he will do so. And the Dems can pound sand. I think Trump did a marvelous job of the way he's handled the situation with Iran over the past few months. He showed a lot of tolerance, but when he finally got his button pushed, he delivered a big hit. And that's how he operates. And I think he's been very successful. In fact, we just had a report from Sarah Carter saying that terrorists all over the Middle East are running for cover and heading down the hole to hide, because Trump has just demonstrated that they can find you anywhere and they can hit you anywhere. And the fact that they could take out someone as powerful as Soleimani, these other guys are thinking, man, if they can get Soleimani, they can damn sure get me. So they're headed underground. Things are about to go very quiet and dark as a result of Trump's masterstroke of strength and of resolve. And the Iranians know who they're dealing with now. Things are about to improve. Let's move on. Well, we just talked a couple of days ago about the fact that Mr. Potato Head seemed to have disappeared. Well, it looks like he's back. He is back on Twitter. Mr. Potato Head John Brennan tweeting again. And this time he's tweeting about, of course, Trump taking out Soleimani. Now, of course, Mr. Potato Head is upset. He's a, Muslim. So he's probably got his prayer rug in a bunch. And he's upset because Soleimani, of course, is dead. And that was probably one of his heroes. So, yes, Mr. Potato Head is really bummed out. But his deranged tweet is similar to all of his other deranged tweets. And I'm looking forward to hopefully here in late spring, early summer, when Mr. Durham takes this criminal off the street and hopefully puts this nut away for quite a few years, and we won't have to worry about his tweets any longer. The sooner the better. Well, we have Mitch McConnell has now signed on to the Hawley resolution, which we've talked about here in the last 2 days. So Senator Hawley introduced a resolution whereby Nancy Pelosi had 25 days to deliver the articles of impeachment. If not, there will be a vote. A simple majority will pass it, and they can vote to dismiss the charges. Now, as crazy as it might seem, this might be exactly what Pelosi would like to see happen. This might be her best way out of the jam that she's put herself into. But we'll see if she's smart enough to let it happen. So, anyway, today, or I should say yesterday, Mitch McConnell has signed on to the Hawley resolution, which means on Monday, which I believe will be, what will be that date? The 13th, I guess? I think it's Monday the 13th. If Madam Botox doesn't produce the 2 articles of impeachment, they will go ahead and have a vote in the Senate to just dismiss it and be done with it. And so I think based on that, I think Pelosi and the pressure is going to get to her. And my guess is she will deliver those articles of impeachment probably an hour before the deadline. And there's like 5 Democrats who've now come out, including Turn In Your Guns, Mr. and Mrs. America Feinstein, have all come out now and said, you know, it's time to give it up, Nancy. Give them the articles of impeachment. Take your beating. Look like a fool. Get embarrassed. Suck it up. Take the L and move on. And that's wise advice. Well, we have the ultra-liberal left-wing bar association in New York calling on Congress to launch an investigation into Attorney General Barr. That's pretty funny, and I'm sure Attorney General Barr is getting a good chuckle out of that. This should not surprise us, although I'm trying to think the last time that the New York Bar tried to make a plea to Congress to investigate an Attorney General. I don't think it's ever happened before. But what does this tell us? Well, it tells us that there's a lot of very nervous people in the District of Criminals and in the Southern District of New York. There's a lot of crooked, corrupt people who were part of the coup plot in those general areas. And they are sweating bullets because they know Barr and Durham are serious about exposing their crimes and holding them accountable. So it's an act of desperation. It will go nowhere. The Congress is not going to be able to really do anything to Attorney General Barr for enforcing the law, conducting a legitimate investigation and enforcing the law. And that's exactly what he's going to do. Believe me, he's having a belly laugh right now. Probably loves it. We have Congressman Bradley Byrne, who has introduced his own resolution to censure Madam Botox, Pelosi, for withholding the articles of impeachment. Yes, that's a nice gesture. Ultimately, it will be voted on. Likely will be a party line vote, and it will fail. But it's a nice gesture. We have the Brexit deal passing over in the UK. Well, it only took 1,295 days to actually pass the Brexit deal through the Parliament in the UK. Now, does that mean that this is the Brexit deal and this is what you're going to get? Oh, no. No. Because first, it has to go over to the EU where they have to vote on it as well. And I don't have a crystal ball or anything, but I'm going to make a prediction that the Eurocrats, the technocrats over at the EU, are not going to vote to go along with Boris Johnson's Brexit deal, which has just passed the Parliament. I think that they are going to reject it. And I think that what Boris Johnson should do, and hopefully will do, is say, okay, well, that was the deal. I got it passed through the Parliament. I brought it to you, and you said no. That's good enough for me. Prepare for a hard Brexit on such and such a date. Hard Brexit. Just leave. There you go. Problem solved. I hope that's what Boris Johnson does, and I'll be shocked if the EU of the European Parliament, I'll be shocked if they vote to ratify this deal. I just would be shocked. I will literally eat my hat if that happens. That's how confident I am it's not going to happen. And maybe they think that Boris Johnson will go back to Parliament and try to negotiate something else or do something else, but I just don't think he will. I don't think he wants the hard Brexit. I think he'd rather have the deal. I think it creates probably less problems. I personally would go with a hard Brexit myself, but that's just me. But I think if the EU tests Boris Johnson, I think that he will probably not play the game. I think he'll probably say, well, that's the deal. I mean, that's it. It's a sign it or don't sign it. And if you don't, hard Brexit. And I expect the European Union to do everything they can to antagonize and harass the UK once they leave the EU. I expect they'll file lawsuits. I expect that they'll do anything and everything they possibly can to try to create problems for the UK as they embark on a new future with their freedom now that they'll finally have back from the EU, and a lot of opportunity, a lot of different types of opportunity available to them now that they're free people again. Now they still have a deep state in their own country they have to deal with, but at least ways they have shaken off the red dog in Brussels. So congratulations over there to you folks in the UK. It is progress. It's slow progress, but it's progress, and ultimately, just like here in the U.S. with Trump and his supporters, we are winning. But the deep state is dirty, and they don't quit. They never stop fighting back. It's not like there's ever going to be a victory where we say, okay, now we can relax, claim victory. We'll never be able to relax. We can claim victory, but we can never relax because the deep state will never quit coming. Not here, not in the UK, not in Brussels, or anywhere else. It's a fight that goes on from one generation to the next, and when we pass away, it'll be up to our kids and grandkids to pick up the banner and continue the fight, because the deep state will never quit. So Margot Cleveland's really been digging into the Spygate thing on her last couple articles. She must have gotten a hold of the transcripts of that event that took place in Cambridge in the UK, the July 26th, 2016 event, where you had Halper, Downer, Dearlove, and all these other people, where they invited Carter Page, where Halper invited Carter Page so that they could start framing him up. And also, if you remember, we've mentioned that at that particular function, and someone else who was there and gave a speech was Madeleine Halfbright. That's right, Madeleine Halfbright was also there. And she did give a speech that night. Now, Margot Cleveland must have gotten some transcripts, because she's been, in her last 2 or 3 articles, she's giving exact quotes from things that were said that night in speeches given by Halper and Dearlove, and now by Madeleine Halfbright. So here she says that in the speech that particular evening in Cambridge, where Halper had lured Carter Page with all the former MI6 spooks and all the deep state players, including Halper and Downer, Madeleine Albright says in her speech that night, and remember, this is July 26th of 2016, July 26th of 2016, would have been 4 or 5 days before they opened Operation Crossfire Hurricane, and even before the FBI and the CIA claimed they even heard of the Steele dossier. Now, with that in mind, here's what Madeleine Halfbright said in her speech that night. She said that Vladimir Putin wants Donald Trump to defeat Hillary Clinton. Vladimir Putin wants Donald Trump to defeat Hillary Clinton. She also said that it was likely Russia who was behind the hack of the DNC emails. How did she become so informed? I mean, this is pretty early on for Madeline Halfbright to be making these comments. We'll have to give that some more thought and compare that with some notes of what was going on at that time to see how she would know these things. Now, as most of you know, I try to follow the Durham investigation as closely as I can, but it's really difficult because the guy flat out doesn't leak. Remember during the Mueller investigation? Every single day, leak after leak after leak after leak. But Durham does not leak. He obviously runs a pretty tight ship there. But we know that Mike Rogers, formerly of who was of course head of the NSA, has been cooperating with John Durham and has met with him multiple times. Now, obviously, Mike Rogers has informed John Durham about his discovery of the fraudulent and illegal abuses of the 702 query system through the NSA database, which was provided to these contractors by the FBI. So we know what happened. Rogers discovers through an audit that 85%, or he discovers that there's all these illegal searches, these 702 query about queries, which is you type in someone's name, type in about, and you get all kinds of information. This was later then used by Susan Rice and Samantha Power to do literally hundreds, if not thousands, of unmaskings. Now, there's some really important things going on with this. Number one, Rogers goes then to the FISA court. Judge Collier informs her. She does an investigation. She confirms what Rogers' audit found. And she writes a report saying that 85% of these 702 queries were unlawful crimes against the law. And she also, in that report, the Judge Collier report on these illegal searches, she names 3 private contractors, but their names are blacked out. So none of us know who those 3 private contractors are. There's certainly a lot of speculation who they are, but we don't really know. We can only speculate. But Mike Rogers knows who they are, and now John Durham knows who they are. Now, 2 important things about this. Number one, we know that those illegal 702 queries didn't just occur during 2016, 2017 as part of the Spygate thing with the coup against Trump. Oh, no. Those illegal searches, those 702 queries, go all the way back to at least 2012. 2012. Which means that this illegal activity with the 702 queries was going on even before Trump ever thought about running for president. Long before the 2016 campaign. So this is something that began earlier on in the Obama administration. There are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of illegal searches that were done by private contractors who were obviously given access to the NSA database. We're told at this time it was from the FBI, who had given these 3 private contractors this type of access. So that's one problem right there, because each and every one of those illegal searches is a crime. Any of the unmaskings, any of the unwarranted unmaskings was a crime. And we're talking about literally hundreds, if not thousands, likely thousands of illegal 702 queries along with the unmaskings that went along with them. And that would implicate primarily people at the NSC, the National Security Council, which during the Obama administration was headed up by Susan Rice. But it probably also would implicate the attorneys general under Obama, which would be, of course, Get Back Loretta Lynch, along with Eric Holder, Obama's wingman. But here is the question that's going to be the doozy. Here is the question that will be the doozy. So Rogers tells us, and we learn from the Collier report, that there were 3, she names 3, there might be more, but she names 3 in her report. All redacted, we don't know who they are, but we know there's 3. 3 private contractors who were given this access to conduct these illegal searches through the NSA database about U.S. persons. Here's the question, the humdinger, the one that John Durham is absolutely going to want to get to the bottom of. He is going to want to know, remember, these are private contractors, meaning they're getting paid. They don't work for the government. They're private contractors. They don't work for free. Somebody was paying them. They were on someone's payroll to conduct those illegal searches. And the question John Durham is going to be answering, and it won't be hard for him to figure it out. He probably already has figured it out. Who were the people paying those 3 contractors to do the illegal searches? Who do you think that was? Could it have been the FBI? Why would the FBI or the CIA or any other government agency pay private contractors to get information from the NSA database that they could get themselves without using private contractors? Why would the FBI or some other government agency, State Department, CIA, or anyone else, why would they pay private contractors to access an NSA database that they can access themselves? Well, they probably wouldn't, which means it's probably not a government entity, which means it's probably some private folks. Now, what kind of private individuals would have the kind of clout that they could get the FBI to give them the thumbs up to allow private contractors that they hired to conduct illegal searches on American citizens, and then later unmask those names? You see, whoever is behind hiring those 3 private contractors, whether it was one person hiring all 3 or 3 different people hiring the 3, whoever that was that hired those private contractors, they are in a world of trouble. Especially if it turns out to be like the DNC, Mr. Comey's good friend, Daniel Richman, possibly Confusion GPS. And I'm not saying it was those 3 people, but I'm saying there are 3 very likely candidates. Whoever it was, whoever those 3 contractors were, they were breaking the law. Hundreds, if not thousands of times. Whoever paid those private contractors were breaking the law. And they have to be some pretty heavy players, because they had to get the FBI to allow that access to occur. That would implicate some fairly high-level people there. That would take at least deputy director level, would have been McCabe, possibly director level at Comey himself, to authorize these private contractors to have access to the NSA database to do about query searches on private citizens without warrants. Later, they unmasked them. These are massive crimes. And if the people who were paying the private contractors turn out to be people who were also involved in the coup plot, you've just taken a big conspiracy and made it a really big conspiracy. A criminal conspiracy. Who was paying the private contractors to access that NSA database, and who in the FBI authorized it? Those are questions that John Durham has already probably answered, because you can bet your bottom dollar that one of the very first things Mike Rogers told Barr or Durham was about his discovery of these illegal searches. And that may have something to do with why we're seeing certain people being removed from various departments in the government that would have had something to do with that. It may be also the reason why Judge Collier is resigning from the court. It may also explain why she has sent such a scathing letter to FBI Director Christopher No Shit Sherlock Ray. Yes, indeed, my friends. There's a lot of questions that Durham has. He's probably answering a lot of them as he goes along, but this is a biggie. Because this is a major deal right here. Of all the things that we talk about, lying to the FISA court, running agent provocateurs into the Trump campaign, trying to run frame-ups on his people who worked in his campaign, trying to run setups like the Trump Tower, and all these other things that were done, bringing in Uncle Bob the Executioner to execute the coup. All these things are very, very bad. Very, very bad. But I can tell you that if we find out that certain entities who I suspect may have been involved in this, whoever paid, well, whoever these three contractors were that accessed the database are in deep trouble, and the people who paid them are in really deep trouble, and whoever at the FBI allowed that to happen, approved of that, is in really, really big trouble. There's a lot of people in a lot of trouble over this little doozy right here. And now, thanks to Mike Rogers, John Durham knows all about it. And something tells me that he's probably already answered all these questions already. So my guess is that we're going to find out that the people who were behind this were directly involved in the coup. This is the kind of stuff that puts you in jail for a very, very, very long time. Now, just a couple of days ago, I brought up the issue again with Joseph Mifsid. And I, again, laid out the case that that Mifsid has been, I should say, described as a huge supporter of Hillary Clinton. Now, we learned from recent reports that Mifsid was at the Democratic National Convention with his good friend, this Italian member of the European Parliament, who's a longtime friend of the Clintons. He gave a speech at the DNC, very pro-Hillary, very anti-Trump. There's pictures of him that he posted on Facebook of him meeting with various high-level Democrats at the convention, including Bill Clinton and Madeleine Albright. And I was posing the question as to the fact that Mifsid goes and tells Papadopoulos, hey, I just got back from Russia, and I heard that the Russians have dirt on Hillary in the form of thousands of emails and blah, blah, blah. And this is what the official story tells us. And again, I asked the question, and I'm really surprised that no one else is asking this question because it seems so damn obvious to me. And it's something that's been bouncing around in my head for a very long time now. I was hoping at some point something would break and we would have some sort of a reason to explain it, but it still has not happened. But I can tell you that if I were on John Durham's investigative team and I had an opportunity to interview Mifsid and Durham said, sorry, Mike, we don't have much time, you only get one question. If I only had one question to ask Joseph Mifsid in an interview, that would be my question. I would ask him, why, being such a huge supporter of Hillary Clinton, being a friend of Hillary Clinton, being a friend of many people, very high-level people who personally know her very well and probably have her contact information, why in the world, when you come back from Russia and find out that the Russians have damaging information on Hillary, why in the world didn't you alert her to that fact? You tell Papadopoulos, but you don't tell Hillary. Mifsid, I don't know that he's got Hillary's personal number, but he certainly has met her and knows her, has dined with her. We have evidence of that. But he knows quite a few people that do know her. But even if he didn't, if you have that type of information and Hillary Clinton is the person that you support in the campaign, in the contest, and you get this type of information, why in the world wouldn't you tell her? Why did Mifsid not inform Clinton or the Clinton campaign of that information that the Russians had dirt on her that they may use to try to hurt her in the campaign? Why would you not tell Hillary? That question's been bothering me for a very long time. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. See ya. Bye.